Okay. Chris Speaks back here today with Brandon Mosley and a candidate for the Democratic nomination for governor next year, Chig Martin. Mr. Martin, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing good, man. It's really good to be here with you guys. I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this.
So, yeah, I love your hat, man. And tell me, how did you get the name Chig? Or did I say it right?
Yeah, I've got you confused.
Well, last week I called Christina McKenna Susan several times during the podcast. So, so how'd you get that name? It's so cool.
Yeah, so it's I'll make it kind of short, but I got a football scholarship to the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. And so when I was a player up there, there was this guy in Chattanooga named Michael Chig Martin. And anyway, he was kind of famous triathlete in that area. And so my teammates kept seeing stuff about Chig Martin on the news and about this guy, and they just started calling me Chig. And a funny story is, like 2 years after they'd been calling me Chig, I was still a student, so I was in a little watering hole one night, and doggone if the other Chig Martin wasn't in there. And so they introduced us, and all my teammates said, "Yeah, we call him Chig because of you." And the real Chig Martin was so honored that he actually started crying that somebody was being named after him. So I'm in good blessing with the other Chig Martin. So yeah, and I have a lot of lies. I tell people that sometimes they ask me about Chig, and I'll say something like I jumped in an old creek and it was full of chiggers, and some of them bit me where I didn't need to be bitten and things. I've made up all kinds of stuff over the years, but that's how I got it.
What position did you play?
I went there as a tight end, but that buffet they had up there for the football players, I liked it a little bit too much, and so I ended up an offensive tackle. Yeah. I didn't know how to say no to the food buffet, so yeah.
Completely understand. Well, Chig, you're running as a Democrat.
Yes, sir.
Democrat has not won a gubernatorial race since 1998. Why do you think you might be different?
Well, I think actually, and I wouldn't have said this. I ran, as you know, Brandon, in the last go around, and I really would have never said this, but this go around, first of all, I have to get through this primary. That's going to be my biggest and toughest challenge. And so, but let's just think positively and say I get through the primary.
Yeah, if you're the primary guy, can you win?
I actually believe I can this time. I could have said that last time, but I'll tell you why. I think I'm a sharper candidate than Tuberville. I think my message has resonated with voters better than his. I mean, I'm offering plans and solutions. I don't really work in the divisiveness part of the government and politics. And I just think if there's a candidate that's been beatable from the Republican side, I think Tommy Tuberville is beatable. And I'll just kind of expand on that. I mean, obviously, myself and my team, we do our own research and we look at his social media and things where stories about him. And it's just not a very popular opinion from both his own party and obviously from other parties right now. So that's why I think this one could be different. I think when it gets to the general election, people might make different decisions in this particular race.
Have you froze up on us, Christopher?
No, I didn't know if you had a follow-up question. So, tell me a little bit about, you've been in several businesses. How did you get started creating so many different entrepreneurs?
Well, a lot of, and I tell this story, I was really fortunate that when I got through with my football playing career, that I was able to start at the top, and that was with a job selling Electrolux vacuum cleaners door to door. And it was horrific start to my career, and especially with a child on the way. And so one thing about me, I'm pretty bulletproof on rejection, as I handled a good bit of that very early in my career, knocking on doors, asking people if they wanted to buy vacuum cleaners. And, I got to the point when I was knocking on the door and they would come to the door and I'd say, "Hey, you don't want to buy a vacuum cleaner, do you?" "Oh, no." "All right. Have a good day. Thank you." I mean, no, but I was able to really advance uh, in basic ways in my sales career. And the next one I got was selling copiers. And this is what's so crazy. At this time, fax machines, which was high technology when they came, I just happened to be in that business when the fax machine come out. And man, we sold those things like hotcakes. People couldn't believe you could print something off or write a note and just send it to somebody through the telephone line. So I did that for about 5 years. And then I worked with national industrial supply companies for about the next 8 or 9 years, which were really good jobs. But I saw opportunities for small businesses to work with the federal government while I was doing those jobs. And I opened my own small industrial business, and we kind of start, and we're still up and functioning. 22 years later, we mainly sell to places that do the maintenance on aerospace, helicopters, airplanes. We sell like the tooling and test instruments, specialized safety equipment, and just even general things they need like gloves and batteries. And so we do that. And then one of the things I was most proud of, we were the first hemp store to start in Alabama. Honeysuckle Hemp may be the first to go out of business too after the hemp ban this month. So we may have it both ends covered on being the first. But and so my mom and dad were real hardworking, common people. And I tell this story because it's an inspiration to me. But my mom, she was born in a very rural part of Alabama, Covington County in southern Alabama. I don't know if you know where Andalusia is, but she was from my mom and dad for just a little bitty tiny community called Red Level. And my mom, she only finished 10th grade. Her mom had died at birth with her, and she just come from a very poor family. And so she was a tough lady. And my dad, he just finished high school, and man, they got married right away, and both of them went to work. And my mom worked so hard running a beauty shop in one end of our house for over 20 years. And my dad worked as a aircraft maintenance mechanic at Fort Rucker down here on the helicopters. But while he was doing that, he had started a mobile home park right around the house we lived in out in the country. And it was all soldiers. They didn't have enough barracks for the soldiers at that time. And so finally, my dad bought land out in the area we're from, and he started a mobile home park. And so they had it for, 40 years at least or longer. I don't know the exact time, but when they passed away, they had left that for me to continue running and take care of. So I'm really multifaceted. I'm in the trailer business, the hemp business, and the aerospace industry. So when you put that together, I don't know what you get. So
somebody high.
yeah.
Going back to the hemp business,
Yes, sir.
obviously the legislature in their wisdom decided that we were getting to be a little bit free flowing with the Delta 8, the Delta 9 products, and we needed to have some regulation. For most of us, this isn't that big a deal, but just for people that might be listening, if you've got a smokable hemp product, no matter how much THC is in it, it is legal today, and it'll be legal on June 30th. But my understanding is if it's in your possession on July 1, all of a sudden that becomes an illegal product, even if I can buy it legally in the surrounding states. Is that correct?
Yes, and what's really a shame is the hemp is going to be a Class C felony with the same amount of marijuana being a misdemeanor. That's how backwards we've gotten this thing. I'll just tell you, I'll tell you this. So the whole HB 445 bill, there's really one component in there that killed the hemp industry, and it's what you said. It's the most popular products are the smokable products. 90% of our sales, and that's just a guess, but that's about what we all think in our store. About 90% of our products are either vape or the natural. In the hemp world, it's called the flower, and which is just the product in its natural form. So yeah, it's been a real tough blow. I mean, honestly, that's things I've been having to work on things this morning. Like, it affects so many people. We, being the first in the state, it's a very popular store, and I was locked into advertising agreements with local companies, and I've had to let them know we have to pause this. We have no choice, and they've all been understanding because they know what we're going through. But we're at a point now where we're just trying to figure out if we're going to be able to survive or not survive. But here's the real bad thing about it is the only thing it's doing is pushing people to the state lines to buy in bulk. They're still going to buy it, even though, I mean, it's with the chances of getting caught with it, they're still going to buy it. And the other thing that's really bad is it's pushing people back to the black market. And we all know what kind of things are happening in the black market with fentanyl and things like that. There's really one big component of this that most of our customers are people that use this, I can tell you, for sleep, for joint inflammation, and it's a lot of people that have personalities that need calming, that former soldiers and things like that, and they just love the product. The medical community loves the product, but I'm predicting, and I think there's going to be an uptick in violent crime here in Alabama because of people not being able to get these products that have helped them. But it's just a shame. It's a shame so many small, hardworking families that started these businesses, a lot of them are just getting going and finally starting to see the fruits of their labor. And yeah, it's a real shame, man. It's sad. We've been in business 6 years. We pay our employees good, and everybody's just upset about it.
Staying on the same lines, I talked to Brandon about this a while back, that I was interested in, maybe should have did some kind of study on it. Do you know if there's been any kind of studies on how much tax revenue these stores are bringing in versus how many people are not being arrested now for having illegal marijuana, and the money that we're not spending on the judicial system versus the money we're taking in, and it was doing good? Because it seems like this is counterproductive to me.
I would say, and this is just based off of my time in this industry and me knowing other store owners, but I can tell you this: the average one-room little small store, which at this point there's thousands of in the state. I mean, like I was telling you, we were the first in the state, and so we were at one point for 6 months by ourselves in Dothan. Now there's honestly 15 to 20 stores just in the town I'm in. So the average for a one-room little store for hemp on their annual total sales, is probably around $600,000 to $700,000. Because
Wow.
some stores, so you add up thousands of stores, and on a safe note, let's say $500,000 to $700,000 a year. So it's going to be a huge impact on the. I think they're going to see the dial move in the wrong direction at the state level when sales taxes are collected in August, because it won't show the effect till after the month of July has run through the system. And then the way,
and that's not even counting the money. I'm sorry, I was going to say that's not even counting the money we're not having to spend to prosecute people.
It's really a shame. And I was just going to mention something what Brandon
Sorry,
said.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you didn't, buddy. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think there's a little delay. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. But but yeah, that when it comes to the regulations and all that, all of our products that come in, and really all stores are like this because it's for liability purposes, but everything that comes into our store, it's required to be tested at a state certified laboratory. So every time we get a product, it has to have that a certification from a state licensed laboratory within that state. So, I mean, we have measures in place, and we've never had one person complain about sickness, or, I mean, we've had people take too much of the product, but they've admitted they took more than they were supposed to and got, you know, about eight or 10 bags of cookies. That's about the most dangerous thing. You know, I tell people, you will never see a fight take place in a hemp store. They are peaceful people that are always happy and smiling. And I always tell people the most dangerous thing about the hemp industry is if you're standing in the direct line to the refrigerator, you may get trampled.
Well, sort of back to the governor's race. The state is kind of odd compared to other states where we tend in Alabama to vote on racial lines. Here in recent elections, the black voters go with the Democrat Party 92 to 94% of the time. And in some of these recent elections, we've seen the Republican candidate get somewhere between 80 and 85% of the white vote.
Yeah.
Given that racial dynamic, are you concerned that in a Democrat primary, which is overwhelmingly black in Alabama, that they're going to not look at your ideas or what you're, you know, running on, but rather just we're more comfortable voting for somebody who looks like us? Let's say Pastor Will Boyd, for example.
Yeah, and so that's the biggest challenge I face right there. And that's why I've been progressive in just laying my cards on the table to the black voters in Alabama. And I've been trying to explain, I've explained to them that I cannot move forward in this process without at least some of the black vote, and that I'm willing to get out into their communities. And I've already done this. I'm meeting with local commission candidates and state constables, and I'm working to try to break that barrier a little bit. And I'm also explaining to them, and I'll just tell you, I always explain myself. It gets me in trouble a lot, but I'm kind of like that Jim Carrey movie where he can't lie, that liar. I just tell the truth, and it gets me in trouble a lot of times, but more times than not, people respect it. But here's the thing: the black voters in the state of Alabama have been under the control of organizations and really manipulating the vote, because a lot of it's based on making money. And I'm trying to just let black voters know that it doesn't have to be like that every time. You got a candidate that wants to work with you, that's not doesn't want anything from you but your vote and an opportunity to work with you. And so far, we've done pretty good. I mean, we've had diverse crowds at the two rallies we've had. We have a diverse group of people that are responding and commenting on our pages. We've got many high-profile black voters within their communities publicly supporting us and encouraging other black voters to join us. So it's something I'm working on, and I'm just addressing it head on, and that's the only way I know.
We were talking about a while ago for Brandon came on your Facebook page, how it's grown and the views. Do you think you'll be able to correlate that into fundraising for some of these people? You know, like we've seen candidates in the past, hey, give me $10 or give me a $20 donation. Do you think you'll be able to do that?
That's the toughest thing I face is fundraising, and I've got all the platforms and able to raise the funds, and I can just give you an idea. we've had our fundraising up for about, let me think here, maybe just over a week. And we've been able to raise about, $1,200-1,500. And that was in the first week. And that's not much, but it's a start. And we're just trying, we're realistic, and we realize that if we can get through the primary, that's when Democratic supporters will start giving their money once there's a set candidate. So pretty much we're prepared to go to battle in the primary with very limited funds. But the thing we do have is we've got out in front of everybody. We've got a good following. We've got, like I said, about 1.7 million views per week on our page, and that's not my numbers. That's the analytics from the page. And so we're getting our message out there, and I'm the only candidate in state government that I know of that sits down and face to face in a live Facebook, and I take all the questions, no matter what, till everybody's done. So a lot of people, I think, are appreciating that. When we do those lives, usually within 3 or 4 days, they're up to around 10,000 different people viewing them. And so we're just chipping away at this thing. We're taking the growth of 100 or 2 every day or two, taking these opportunities to get our message out in a live forum at 5,000-10,000 people at the time. And we're just working with what we have available, but we probably will never have a great deal of money during this primary, but we're going to try to raise enough to keep us moving across the state and doing the things we need to do.
In the last gubernatorial race, Yolanda Flowers out of Birmingham won the Democratic nomination. And for whatever reason, her campaign was not embraced by Democrats, or at least Democrats that are willing to spend money. I think she raised like a total of $12,000 in her campaign. I mean, Tommy Tuberville, in less than 1 month of campaigning, has raised over $3 million for this race. Do Democrats or people who believe as Democrats believe, do they need to step up and say, hey, if we want to win, it's going to mean me writing a check to the candidate of my choice?
Absolutely. And quite honestly, I don't think it's a big secret in Alabama that the Democratic Party, even though I'm a member, but I have to be honest, it's in kind of disarray. What's kind of crazy is, and this is something me and my team talk about, is we've done really well. I mean, we have people, hundreds and hundreds of people that have come forward and said, I've always voted Republican, but I'm voting for you. We have libertarians say it. We have independents saying it. And, so the biggest pushback I've had is from within my own party, and I've not quite understood it. I think it's because my message is really centered. And now I'm starting to see top Democratic leaders saying, and this, it just as of last night, they're really coming to what I've been basically pushing. They're saying we've got to be more centered. We can't be far left. And so I think one thing I have done is help this party find a centered, moderate message. And I think it's going to be beneficial, but that's thrown some shock to the far left part of the party.
That was going to be on my next question for you, that you're running on a centrist campaign. We've seen that the National Democratic Party, they're doubling down with AOC, Bernie Sanders, Kamala again. How are you going to differentiate yourself and make the Alabama voters say, hey, I'm more of like the Democrats back in, like Don Siegelman and those type guys?
Yes. And the way I'm doing it is constantly putting my message out of what my goals are. Like, my goals are always centered around, I explain it this way. If you see a fisherman with a cast net over his shoulder standing on the bank, When he throws that net, his goal is to spread that net into a big complete circle as wide as it goes. And so I'm kind of taking that approach. I'm trying to make my message and the things I want to do cover as many people as possible. And those are the basic things like improving on healthcare, economic development, bringing community pride back to our schools. I'm on what I call the core issues of the state. Well, that leaves a lot of people in the party that net doesn't cover up out to the sides. Those particular groups of people stay mad with me sometimes, but what I try to tell them, we're going to try to take those things outside of the net individually and work with people. And the main thing about me, I'm all about open dialect. I have obviously doing this. I'll tell you a funny story. My daughter, without saying too much, one of her friends' dad is running for a local race in a very small little country town, and they were having dinner, and the lady told my daughter, said, man, this one man said something bad about my daddy, and he's mad and he's tore up. My daughter looked at him and said, you ought to see my daddy. He's got about thousands of people of a week dogging him out. But yeah, and I do. But you have to know how to. You have to definitely have thick skin. I'm under constant attack, and it's from the people that cast net doesn't actually cover. But what I'm trying to tell these groups of people is, a lot of times they will ask me a question. I will answer it honestly, but instead of just accepting my answer and us trying to work together, a lot of them go into attack mode and disparaging mode. And that's when I cut off the communications at that point, because I demand as a leader, as a governor candidate, that if we're gonna get anywhere, we've got to be respectful. We got to all be able to come to the table and talk openly. And so that's what I'm all about.
Would you
Chig.
describe yourself more as a populist? Oh, I'm sorry, Brandon. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to follow up one question. Would you describe yourself as more of like a populist?
No, honestly, I'm really, and it goes back to my upbringing from my parents. I'm just a common sense candidate. I don't have a lot of bells and whistles. I just look at the issues at hand with the state, like us being sixth in poverty, which you guys probably saw came out 2 or 3 weeks ago. I mean, ranked near the bottom in education. And I mean, it's just like this. Our economic development, I tell people, I feel like the people that are in charge of that for our state literally sit there and wait for a phone to ring. And that's going to be completely different with me. One of the things that I'm going to be personally involved with, if I were fortunate enough to get elected, is we're going to be reaching out to the top earning high-tech companies in the world. And I mean, the governor of Alabama will be talking to these people, actively recruiting. And we're going to try to get these jobs here at Alabama. And there's one thing different about the way I'm going to do it. The way it works now is if somebody wants to come into Alabama, before you can bat your eye, we've already given them the land at the industrial park. We've already streamlined their permits. We've already given them, and I'm just throwing numbers out on it. So just to be clear, but we've given them 10 years of no sales tax on the products that they need to buy for their plant, no property taxes, and we give the house away. And that is not true negotiating or making good deals on our state. And the way we're going to recruit with me is we're going to recruit these companies, and we're going to work with them, and we're going to treat them like a prospect, but we're also going to explain to them for their company to be successful in Alabama, they've got to have a little bit of skin in the game too. They've got to buy this land. They have to maybe have a small break on taxes to get started up within the next couple of years. And we have to convince them that if you want your employees to be successful and their kids to go to schools that are good schools, we need you not only coming here, but we need you participating in what it takes to build all this infrastructure with like, and I'm meaning just school education and things that are needed in that community by job growth. So we're not looking for assembling plants. We're not looking for plants that are huge and run by 4 or 5 people just overseeing some machines. We want skilled labor jobs that are high paying, top earning jobs. And I guarantee you, with the right leadership, it's going to be amazing what we can do. And one of the things that's one of my personal things, I've lived in Alabama my whole life, and the black belt is always talked about, but nothing is ever done. And I think we've got to formulate a plan for once in 2 to 3 areas of the black belt to get the road and bridge infrastructure they need, to finally start recruiting industry and putting it in the black belt. And I know we can do it.
Chig, the state of Alabama, on a week ago Thursday, we executed another guy. We execute people for, murder on a pretty regular basis. Are you comfortable as the governor signing off on these executions and the death penalty?
Yes, I am. If our judicial system and the process goes through, I believe that judges make this final decision, and unless there's something being brought up that shows there was a problem within that trial that is clear and precise, that there's problems, evidence presented, and I'm talking after the trial. Obviously, those situations will be looked at, but I'm comfortable with what a judge decides here in Alabama on that.
You want to follow up with a question, Brandon? I had 2 a while ago, so I was going to give you a chance.
Okay. We've had issues with education in the past, but now because of the economy, we've been able to put more money into education than in the past. And we've got the Literacy Act where if you're not reading at 3rd grade level at the end of 3rd grade, you have to repeat 3rd grade. We're hiring math coaches to teach teachers how to teach the new math. Are you comfortable with education the way we're doing it now, or, with the changes and improvements that we did under Governor Ivey? Or is there something else we need to do to get it to hit that next level?
Well, here's the way I feel about it, Brandon. It seems to me that the state is trying to take every avenue, giving citizens every avenue to get out of public education right now. And I think educational systems should be a source of community pride. And let me just tell you this: I talked to a lot of teachers, and some of the biggest problems then when I talk directly with teachers is that they have problems maintaining discipline in their classroom, which affects everybody's ability to learn in that classroom. They tell me in some cases principals are not supporting them and trying to control discipline levels. So a lot of this with our educational problem starts with leadership. And one of the things I want to do here is and I've made no bones about this. I want to study the top state educational systems in the country. I want to try to put models off of the way they're doing things and how it's working for them. And not only that, one of the biggest investments that I personally want to make if I were elected is I want to bring in the top educational program managers in the nation, even if it means giving them substantial raises to get them here. And I want to because education is something that just a common businessman like me can't sit here and say that I can formulate a plan to make this work. But I do know how to get good people. But we've got to have a governor that commands that these schools be in control. We got to have a governor that has teachers when they come to class that aren't promoting personal political agendas to the students, but they're just simply, I say they leave it at the car in the parking lot, and they come in and do their job, and that's teach world-class history, math, science, and those type of things.
Chig, you was talking about jobs in the black belt and bringing companies in here. Are you concerned with the advancements of AI that we're fixing to lose a lot of jobs, and how do we offset that? Because I was looking at something the other day. They think in a few years robots will be performing surgeries now, and we won't even have doctors anymore.
Yeah, it may be robots instead of us on these Zoom calls too.
That's true.
Hey, and that's why when I was talking about my economic development plan, one of the great things about me is my background is in the industrial industry. So I know what types of jobs that are going to require humans. And luckily for us here in Alabama, for instance, we already have a strong aerospace community here in the state, especially around Redstone Arsenal, around Fort Rucker in southern Alabama, Maxwell Air Force Base. And a lot of people don't realize, yes, these are on those bases, but there is a big supporting cast of companies that is required, that are private contractors. And so I want to expand upon aerospace. I want to expand upon our medical technologies in the state. And the good thing about aerospace, it's always going to require people actually working on equipment. So yes, you've got to recruit around that, Chris, with the machineries possibly taking over. It's something you have to be focusing on, what type of businesses to bring in.
Going back to Christopher's question, as a reporter, content manager here at the Gazette, last night there were 3 major headlines. Israel was bombing Iran, and we had, what the Alabama leaders' reaction was to that. The court denied President Trump's, a court blocked President Trump's authorization to use troops in California. And then we had our historical moment of the day. Pre-AI, I would have assigned 2 of those to a human writer to write, and Brandon would have done, the one that Brandon wanted to do. Without human writers now, I was able to, the AI did 2 of those 3, and I did 1, basically eliminating the need for 2 additional reporters, still produce the same content. Now that we have AI that can write stuff, that can do stuff, it can analyze data and compress stuff, how much potential savings is there in the state workforce if we could implement AI to do the role that like an $80,000 a year employee does? And as governor, do you think you can make those hard decisions to downsize staff to create efficiency?
Yeah, when we're talking the private world, that's one thing, and when we're talking the taxpayers' money, that's another thing. And so, yes, I mean, I have to be a good steward of the taxpaying citizens of Alabama's money. I mean, the government is not a for-profit institution. It's really about running it efficiently and smartly. So yes, I would have to make those tough decisions because it is taxpayers' money, and we do have major problems in the state where other money needs to be spent. I mean, infrastructure, schools. And so, yeah, if those decisions have to be made with taxpayers' money, they have to be made, whatever they may be.
Chig, let me ask you this. Do you line up with the National Democrats on like the trans issue, or do you think a man's a man and a woman's a woman?
Well, here's my response to this, and it gets me in a lot of trouble. But basically, I'm going to govern with you live your life and you live it freely. You won't have any pushback from me as governor. That's your right. And one of the things I believe in is equity. I believe in I I'm going to govern the citizens of Alabama as a block of people. They're all one to me. That's just the way I feel. And you're going to get treated equally, fairly, and you will always have a governor that makes sure that all of the benefits and rights that you're entitled to as an Alabama citizen will always be upheld by me. Period. And I say this, I don't really know how to segregate citizens. It's all one body to me, and every single person is equal to me, period.
Um,
Do you think they should be allowed to play in women's sport? I'm sorry, Brandon.
Go
it
ahead.
really wouldn't be a governor's race in Alabama without me asking a question about gambling. We've got illegal gambling all over this state. There's literally hundreds of, businesses, some small, some large, and everything in between that are defying our Alabama constitutional amendment, banning all games of chance. Do you favor some sort of legalization? How limited would that legalization be? Would that be? And if it's not legalized, are you willing, the current governor has been completely unwilling to actually act to shut down illegal gaming. Are you willing to enforce the law and shut down illegal gambling? And is there a legalization that you could support?
Now, when you're talking about the illegal gambling, are you talking about Indian casinos?
Well, I mean, the Indians are operating legally under the Indian Gaming Act, but there are establishments that have machines that are illegal, and there are like card games, and there are things that go on, all the time, especially in Jefferson County, where their gaming is illegal, but the sheriff and the district attorney look the other way, and local judges are paid campaign contributions and they look the other way, but it's blatantly illegal. The current governor has an order in place that none of her ALEA resources can be used to enforce the gaming law.
Yeah, I mean, and I will tell you this, I'm not trying to play, obviously you see I answer any question, but I think where I'm located in Alabama, I don't see a lot of that because it's very rural area.
That's Enterprise a little bit different than Jefferson County.
Yeah. And that's why I say I just don't. I haven't seen it. Yeah, we don't really have that problem in the part of the state I live in. But personally, how I feel about it, that's not really that big a deal to me. The way I don't feel like it's hurting anybody. And if somebody wants to take their money that they've earned at work and do whatever with it, I'm fine with it. But I am in favor of gaming in Alabama, and Brandon and I have talked about this before. So, but I'm in favor of controlled gaming areas in the state, and I kind of take this model off of the Alabama junior college system. The junior college system was put into place in Alabama where every citizen in the state that didn't have the money to go off to a big college would be within an hour or an hour and a half of a junior college. Well, that's kind of what I'm trying to do on a gaming zoned area. I want to find some places near some of our bigger metropolitan areas in the state, but obviously out to the sides of these towns where there's room to grow. And I want to make these gaming areas that are controlled and very nice and very classy. People can come with their families and stay in one area for the weekend and have even have things like water parks and amusement parks. And then I will have another area that where friends and adults can go to, and they can do things like go to concerts or arts and entertainment, and then have the gaming available. But I don't really want to have a state that has little small casinos and gas stations at every stop down the road. I want it to be I want it to be significant and impactful and just done in a professional manner here in Alabama. And I think it would be a huge success personally.
I want to follow up on that last question. Do you think that biological men should be allowed in women's sports?
No, I don't.
Okay.
We've got a medical marijuana program in state, and I think there's like 5, business entities that will be allowed to grow, process, and sell medical marijuana to people that have little state issued cards. Do we need to either, of course, it's been tied up in court since 2021. Do we need to go in and revise that program in some way, or maybe just say that we tried it and failed and shut it down?
It is state government inefficiencies at its worst. I mean, if you think about how simple this concept is, we're talking about getting an agricultural product just to the hands of the consumer. And now, all these years later, and we've not been able to do that. And now, the citizens, once this, let's just say this finally goes through, once the citizens, this becomes legal, now we've boiled their choices down to a pill or a small jar of unflavored tincture, which tastes like if you go cut your grass and squeeze the juice out of it, that's about what it's going to taste like. I mean, we make things as bad as we can for our citizens. The citizens can't even get the natural product. And just to tell you a little about this, because me being in the hemp industry, I checked into all this. So they're wanting to, unless something's changed since I've checked into it, but each location, well, first of all, just to walk you real quickly through the process, they wanted you to send $2,500 off to apply for a medical marijuana opportunity to be a retail company. Well, if you're not, whether you're chosen or not chosen, they keep the $2,500. And to me, that was just a huge red flag for a government agency keeping a small business's money when they're being denied. Well, then you start getting into $40,000 for a business license for each store, just a special business license. And now you're only able to sell a pill and the tincture. So you've got that number sitting over you. Then you've got to have certified armed security on site during your operating hours. You've got that cost. And then before you ever get to that, they are suggesting or requiring that you get consulting from cannabis companies that provide this consulting. And the ones I've talked to in Alabama spend up to $100,000 and $120,000 for this consulting so far. So it has just sucked the blood and the money out of the people trying to get into this. And they're basically making it where major corporations are going to come in here and take that over in Alabama. And the Alabama small businessman ain't going to have a chance at all in getting involved in it.
See, earlier you was talking about soldiers and, and then you was talking about the hemp and it helping people. Yeah, I'm served in the Army in Afghanistan. I was prescribed, different medications. And then about 6 months ago, from these, I failed a drug test. So even though we have medical marijuana here and the gummies was legal over the station, I've been taking off PTSD meds, anxiety meds, and depression meds until I can pass one again. It's been several months now. Is there anything as governor that you can try to convince the feds to do? Hey, why are punishing people or something that's.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, it's really sad. And a lot of confusion happens with people on the drug test, because at their work or whatever, because they'll ask us, they'll say, will I fail a drug test if I use your product? And we tell them, yes, you will. We're straight up let them know. And they said, yeah, but the product's legal. But we say, yes, the product still has THC in it though. And so I can just tell you this, Christopher, I'm going to free the weed up in Alabama. Okay. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make it where people like what, and thank you for your service, by the way. I wanted to say that. I really do appreciate that. But you should not have lost those benefits of the medicine you need by using a federally legal product. And yes, I will do everything I can to protect people just like you in that situation, whatever I can do from the governor's role. I always tell people, I don't know exactly what I can do as governor. I hadn't found a Governors for Dummies book yet, so how to be a governor for dummies. But yeah, whatever I can do, I'm going to try to, that just shouldn't be happening.
During this past legislative session, the House passed a bill to require that every school in the public school in the state to post a copy of the 10 Commandments and other historical documents, whatever exactly that, Magna Carta or something like that. That stalled in the Senate because the Senate got into partisan wrangling over whatever on the last day, so that timed out. So it never really got to the floor. Would a Governor Martin sign that legislation?
Here's my thing, Brandon. I don't see, and I'll just be forthright and honest. I'm a Christian. I don't go to church enough, but I do say my prayers and I ask for forgiveness. And so, and I do that daily. And here's the thing about public institutions, schools. We have such a diverse culture now, and that at the state level, at the local level, things need to make the one thing about governing, it doesn't matter what religion you are, you're going to get the same level of governorship from me. And that's kind of like what I'm saying at our schools. I don't see where it is that important, but I do see that if you're not a Christian, if you're from another country, and a public school needs to be a place just where everybody feels open and not feel that because they're another religion that they're not welcome or getting the same level of respect from teachers. So I just don't see where it's that big an issue. I mean, kids go to school to learn, and that's what I'm going to focus on there. It's just not a big thing to me personally.
Do you think the president's immigration policy is the correct way to do it? And as governor, would you help what's going on by?
I speak openly and honestly. I live in a community that's a farming community that does a lot of the poultry processing here for the state. And I would say, and I'm only guessing, but I would say probably 80 to 90% of those jobs in the local farms and at the processing plants are Hispanics and immigrants. And I will tell you this, some of the finest people I know in this community are immigrants, the most family-oriented people. And yeah, there's bad apples and bad actors in every bunch and every race. But for the most part, this is a great group of people that's working here in Alabama and keeping our state going. I'm all for getting the dangerous criminals and the noted gang members that are promoting violence. I have no problem with that. But these people that are just working here in Alabama and helping our state run, yeah, I think they need to be left alone personally, and I'm going to stand up for them. I kind of use this as an example. I was out here in the country one day at my house, and I was trying to load a dresser in the back of my truck. And if you ever loaded anything in a truck, you try to get one end up on the tailgate, and then you try to lift the other end and push it in, And so I was just struggling to get to that point. Well, I see one of my people that I grew up with my whole life driving down the road, another guy, and I kind of looked and I saw him turn his head and look the other way where we wouldn't make eye contact. And then immediately after that, two immigrants see me, pull off the side of the road, help me load the dresser in my truck. So I always use that as an example. They're helpful people, they're caring people. And yeah, I don't know. I don't believe in all this wrangling up working people. That's my feelings on it.
Florida, well, Alabama has a 5% state income tax. Florida has a 0% state income tax. Tennessee is phasing their state income tax out. Mississippi has dropped theirs about 30%. And I'm thinking Georgia's dropped their state income tax by about 25 to 35%. Is the 5% state income tax starting to hurt our ability to recruit new labor, new talent, and business to Alabama?
Now you're talking about the state sales tax?
The state income tax.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Because I was going to say,
You're not taxed in your income. If I have a $50,000 a year reporter job in Montgomery, I'm gonna pay 5% to the state of Alabama.
Yeah.
If my employer moved me across the state line to Florida, the state would get zero,
Yeah.
in state income taxes off that, although Florida has much higher property taxes than we do.
I don't like the state income tax, and that's as a person that watches it dip out of my check every month. So, not a fan of that. And I think if we will, I can tell you this. Our state sales tax is about 4%, and I've always said I think our property taxes are pretty fair. I mean, but I'm not a fan of the state income tax, and I would really try to do whatever I could do to eliminate that. But I also understand that we've got to be more progressive in other ways to make up that money, and on things like what we were talking about, like gaming, like lotto. I can tell you right now, if we would let me take the lead and they would follow me on the decriminalization of marijuana here in the state of Alabama, you would see so much money that this state wouldn't even know how to spend it all. I'm talking about you could improve infrastructure, you could improve schools, you could improve mental health programs, veterans affairs. And that's what I'm saying. We're just lacking leadership here in the state.
We've seen with the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade being sent back to the states. What would Governor Martin's policy be on abortion? Would it be a total ban with the exceptions?
Yes, I mean, and I've always been straightforward and honest about this. Me personally, but I'm also a man, so I mean, I don't personally support abortion, and I use this example. Obviously, I'm too old now, but if I were a young man and I had a child and I'd gotten somebody pregnant, and if they wanted to abort the baby, I would make the offer that if you have this baby, I'll raise the baby by myself and with no strings attached if you'll just have the child. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But this is one of those ones that's not a yes or no question, but I'm also saying that as a man, I believe that women should have their individual freedoms, rights, liberties, and be able to make whatever decision them and their doctor formulate. I don't want the state to be involved in medical decisions, abortion decisions. That is between a woman and her doctor, and the state will never pressure or cause any problems for whatever a woman decides. But I will tell you this, where I think the state can do better, and this is where I think we miss out, is I think we need programs in every county that are there to help these ladies when they get, right now, if a girl gets pregnant or a young woman or a young lady or a middle-aged lady, they're just left out on an island all alone. They feel like they can't talk to anybody. And I want to put programs in place to help women during those periods. And maybe what we can do is maybe some of them will have these babies with adoptions and waiting once the children are born. And I mean, we've got to be proactive on this, and it's just not cut and dry issues. It's complicated, but I'm willing to work on it. and do whatever I can. But I believe in a woman's right to choose, just to answer your question.
Starting this August, when children go to school here, this is the first year where, you know, if you meet the requirements, you can apply for, you know, your state tax dollars to follow your child to private school or to even homeschool. I think the legislature appropriated something like $180 million for that in the first year, and that's supposed to increase moving forward. Is Governor Martin okay with the money that currently goes to public education, following it to church schools, private schools, community schools, wherever, if the parents make the decision that they would prefer that option?
No, I'm not for that. I call it passing the buck, literally. Yes, I mean that is trying to outsource the responsibilities of our public education institutions. And I am all for, I mean, just to make it clear, with all the, I would say that's like a subsidy going out to, it's their taxpayers' money. I understand that, but I'm about keeping all that money in public schools and trying to make a public school where people don't have to go to private schools to get education. Education, somebody has to stand up for public education, and we've got to make an investment in our state, county, and city institutions. And that's what I'm willing to do. It's really some of the tough decisions, but it has to be made. We've got to restore community pride in our public schools where the citizens are involved with the schools, and you know, like I said, just quite honestly, take pride in their schools. And I think we can get back there. I think we've just had a lack of leadership there. Nobody that's willing to step up and make the hard decisions.
Right there, you talked about property taxes a while ago, and you know that's how we fund our schools. How do we improve these schools, like in Inslee or something, or Woodlawn, where the property values are so low and they're not getting the money? Do we redirect it, or what do you think should be done there?
Yeah, and honestly, that's complicated stuff what you're talking about right there. But you know, I would say, and I understand that some of these areas where these schools in, I mean, the communities are just have really went downhill. But at the end of the day, that's not the students' fault. They're kids that are attending those schools. So things like that will have to be looked at on a one-on-one basis. And like you said, just like you said, there may be certain areas in the state that we have to make special exceptions for as far as funding to get those schools back up to par. I mean, it's not clear cut, black and white when it comes to making these decisions.
Well, Chig, thanks for being on. We've kept you over an hour. We could go on and on and on. Me and Christopher asking questions, but at some point, we have to respect your time. And thanks for being on.
Oh man, listen, I appreciate it. I've tried to answer every question that you guys ask, honestly, from my heart, and so I hope it helps. And I'm real honored to be on with both of you guys. Both of you are respected in the political world here in Alabama, so you've got that going for you. So
Brandon is. I don't know about me.
I'm definitely not.
Yeah, I'll get this uploaded to YouTube as soon as I can, and I'll tag you in it, and share it to your groups, and hopefully.
Oh, we're gonna put it out there. Trust me. Yeah, as soon as you get it out, it'll be out there.
Right. Thanks so much for talking to us.
And man, yeah, thank y'all so much. Seriously, I really do appreciate it. All right.
Sure.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Take care, buddy.